With unemployment at over 2.2 million in the UK, the government is discussing its new welfare reform bill in Parliament. The bill outlines strict conditions unemployed people must meet in order to access benefits. These include a work for your benefit scheme for the long-term unemployed who will be forced to do voluntary or unpaid work. But how are people supposed to find work when there are only 455,000 job vacancies and these are declining rapidly? There are already 1 million unemployed under 25s, and this figure will massively increase when young people finish college this summer. What jobs will there be? Instead of penalising people on miserly benefits, what is the government doing to develop productive employment and job opportunities? These facts prompted Emma Grant to visit Tony McNulty MP, Minister of State for Employment and Welfare Reform, and put her concerns to him.
Hi, I'm Emma, reporting for WORLDbytes. Here with me is Tony McNulty, who is the Minister of State for Employment and Welfare Reform. Thanks a lot, Tony, for having this interview with us.
My pleasure.
First question we've got. I know that the Welfare Reform Bill covers, it affects lots of different groups, but at the heart it seems to be a change from benefits being a right for people who are out of work and changing it towards having more conditions involved and being able to access the financial help. I mean, why do you think it's necessary to add more conditions?
Well, there are already conditions placed on benefits, especially job seekers allowance. People have to be looking for work. I would turn it round and say that what we're trying to do is get to a stage where there's an even stronger deal of support for people. But the more you help yourself, the more we'll help you. In the harder to reach cases, if people still don't want to help themselves, don't want to avail themselves of the support that is there for them, then the conditions will bite.
WorldWrite actually covered the story of Vistian workers who were told they had 6 minutes to leave the factory in Enfield and they lost all their pensions and had no rights. And we found similar stories with Woolworths workers. What would your message be to companies who treat people like this?
I would say, in terms of the rapid response service and all that we can do, to companies who do find themselves, unfortunately, in the position of going into administration, let us know at the earliest opportunity so we can help the workforce. And I would say, treat your workers with a bit of humanity.
So there has been a lot of debate about the lack of productive jobs in industry and manufacturing. Is the government doing anything about this, and is there any investing going on in these kind of sectors to increase the amount of jobs that are available in production?
Well, it's important for us to try and know and understand what the economy is going to look like when we get through the recession. You know, so people are giving that a lot of thought at the moment, working with the private sector and others. But more broadly, what is the nature of the economy going to be? If we're serious about a low-carbon economy, if we're serious about reaching our emission targets, what do we need to do now and when we emerge out of the downturn to make that a reality? Cars and households are responsible for more emissions than something like aviation, to take an obvious target. And if we get our energy efficiency right in terms of our households, if we're cutting down carbon emissions through motor cars, then we'll be significantly on the way to maintaining our goal to reach the targets in terms of emissions by 2050. So it's not just about what the manufacturing sector is going to look like afterwards.
But to bring the question back to the fact of what we're talking about is the lack of jobs or the lack of people in work. In order to produce more jobs, surely production would be a good way of investing in the production of wealth, basically. A lot of these schemes seem to be just tackling the inevitability that there's going to be unemployment rather than saying, let's create employment, let's create
No,
wealth.
quite the opposite. The offer of the year is the creation of new jobs by the social enterprise sector, by the voluntary sector, by local councils. Not for me to dictate what those jobs should be, but they should be new jobs, they should be productive jobs, contributing to their local communities. It's up to them to define them and make them as attractive as they can for people to take them.
You talked about the voluntary sector, and within the voluntary sector there's been a lot of discussion about people being forced to volunteer. Is this not undermining what volunteering actually is?
We're not about to force anyone down that route at all. Other than, which is maybe where you're coming from, in the Welfare Reform Bill, right at the end of the process, when you've given people, God, Lord knows how many chances all the way through to help themselves, we do have provision to work for your benefit, which may well involve working with the community or the voluntary sector. But these are for the people who are resisting all the help and support they've had all along the way. But in order to have a sort of carrot and stick approach, you need to define the stick as well as the carrot.
Mm-hmm. I don't really understand the carrot approach, what the carrot is in that approach, really.
The carrot is giving them as much personalised help and support as possible. Carrot, 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 stick. Utterly unconvinced.